All right, so I'm Sam Solomon, and I am here with Will Richman, who is the co-founder of Bitmaker Labs, an intensive 9-week long web development school located in Toronto. Well, thanks for joining me on my first interview here, Will. Um, if you would, why don't we start the program off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, originally I'm from Vancouver, and I moved to Toronto to go to business school. Um, I've always been interested in tech, but I never thought I'd have the chance to learn how to develop my own applications. So when I graduated, I originally went into finance and found that that wasn't for me. So I went. Me and a couple of buddies came up with a couple of tech ideas, and we basically found that trying to manage a tech team would be extremely difficult and costly. So we headed to Chicago, where we went to the Starter League for 3 months, and that's when I realized that anyone could do this. Anyone could become a developer.
And so was that so you guys basically had the idea for Bitmaker Labs like going into the starter league, or was it something kind of developed along the way?
We kind of had the realization that this is something that needed to be done all over the world. Like, it was clear that as soon as we came back, or I guess my buddy did the course before I did,
Right.
and we quickly had all of our friends asking, "Can you teach us how to code?" So it was a logical progression of what we were already doing. So we were curating resources for friends already. So it just seemed obvious at that point. Toronto needed web development school.
Cool, cool. Well, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about what exactly Bitmaker Labs is? I think I have this right. It costs $7,000, and the focus is on Ruby and Rails and JavaScript.
That's correct. That's correct. Bitmaker Labs is a 9-week immersive web development training program. So we start off with front end and Ruby, and then we move to Rails, and then we have a JavaScript component, and then at the end we finish it off with you have to be able to go and apply this to something. So we have a project week, and then we move into Angular.
Cool, cool. So, how exactly do these students find you? Are you accepting students from outside Canada or outside the U.S.? And I guess kind of what's a little bit of the background of some of these students?
Yeah, we have most of our students are from Toronto. We have 4 from outside of Canada. So we actually have an ex-Major League Baseball player.
Really?
Yeah, from New York. He played for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
That's awesome.
There's a lawyer from Switzerland who practiced law for about 10 years and decided he wanted to become, a developer. We've had people from all walks of life.
That's awesome. So it's not just like North America. You have people from all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. So right now, is the first semester over, or are you guys kind of in the middle of the semester?
We've just finished week 5 of
Okay.
10 weeks. So that was our JavaScript week, and we learned how to control robots
That's
using
awesome.
using Ajax. It was
So,
very cool.
so what type? So could you go into that a little bit more? Like what type of robots are these? Like whatever those like Lego Mindstorms, or like what exactly? These computer robots. What are these?
Yeah, one of our teachers was I guess a hardware engineer. I forget the term that he said he went through, but he basically his spare time is spent building robots. So he goes and 3D prints pieces of robots and assembles them. So he went and 3D printed these parts to this robot, found the motors, and then he hooked up. It was basically there's three boards that he used: a Bluetooth, board, a Arduino, and I'll have to get back to you on the last one, but he basically patched those together and then set up a node server that we created a Rails application to post to
Yeah,
uh, with Ajax.
that's awesome. I need to
Yeah.
come up. I need some better side hobbies then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys were basically kind of writing little things to make the robot do different. That's awesome.
Right. Right.
So what are some of the other types of projects that kind of students are working on? That's a cool example, but like what other stuff? Like even before that, like the very first thing. What are people working
So we started everyone out with building their own resume and building their own portfolio site.
on? So HTML and CSS.
No
Gotcha.
CSS, right? And then we had them build Hangman. So to practice learning object-oriented programming, you need to create certain classes and to create a game, and that's how we built Hangman with all Ruby. And then we went through a photo blog app, so an Imager clone, and then we the next app was an Amazon clone. So that's how we taught database association.
Cool. So I guess my next question here is where does Bitmaker Labs fit in with traditional education? Obviously it's not hard to see that a lot of things are changing here pretty quickly. But what are your thoughts on
Uh, we're kind of like the antithesis of traditional education. So we've had to pivot and learn a lot in the first 5 weeks. Like we had this entire map planned out. This is how the 9 weeks are going to go, and then the plan didn't survive the enemy lines basically.
that?
Right. So we got there and we realized that lecture is nice, but it doesn't let people learn what they need to learn at the right time. So everyone learns in more or less their own way and at different rates. So why not kind of flip that like traditional model on its head? So have them do all the reading up front and like on their off time, and then do the troubleshooting in class. So most of the day it starts with a brief lecture, but then it's pretty much just all building stuff.
Gotcha. And so are there any tests or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So we like to make sure that people like it, that the information sinks in.
Right.
So we have weekly quizzes, but it's more to say, okay, this is what you know. Now let's review the quiz together, and let's see what parts everyone's sticking on,
Right.
and then fix it accordingly.
Cool. Um, so I guess like moving forward, 5 years down the road, um, where do you see Bitmaker Labs? Are you staying in Toronto? Are you in a couple different cities? Um, because I know that like with a lot of other schools, there's some people have strict different philosophies, but I'm curious what you guys are
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Right now, we're just looking, a year ahead because it's hard to plan.
thinking.
But
Right.
ideally, we would like people from any walk of life to be able to come into this and feel once they are accepted into the program, they feel that we can easily make the transition into a web developer. So giving them more hands-on experience, but being like the one-stop shop for web development.
Yeah.
Whether or not we go to other cities, who knows? But we'd like to do what we do in Toronto well first.
Gotcha. Well, what about college? Where do you see, you know, what traditional education is in 5 years? Do you have students that are coming to your school or that are coming to Bitmaker Labs instead of going to college?
Yeah, yeah. We have a guy from Arizona that's doing this. He dropped out of college and he's doing this instead. We actually have two dropouts now. So it's good. If I got to do my education again, I would have taken something like this. Like, I don't think you need university is good for different reasons. If you want to get hired, I would say this would be the program for you. I think you
Right.
can do a lot more in a lot less time. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
So, in terms of where I think education is going, I'm trying to convince my little brother to drop out and do this because I believe in this so strongly that if this was around when I was going through school, I would have done this instead.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I gotta believe that at least cost wise for people coming from the U.S., I think higher education subsidized a little bit in Canada, isn't it?
A
Yeah, but
little,
especially like people in the U.S., college is super expensive. So like $7,000 for a quarter, and you're going to take away something that's really valuable. Whether you decide to go on the program or not. I mean, I think that's something that's pretty important. But
I think so too. It's like even if you don't get the same depth that you would in a 4-year computer science degree, at least you have 3.5 years to go and get that knowledge.
yeah, and you didn't spend $40,000 on something you don't really want to do. So um, yeah, I think that is I think that just breaking the default that you got to go out of high school and go straight into college. I think that's a really important thing. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we got indoctrinated um, in thinking that like you had to go to university. And it doesn't matter what you took in university as long as you
yeah,
went. And I think that's completely wrong. You should find your passion first. And if when you find your passion, university is the place to go learn more, unleash that passion. That's when you go, right? It's not. I don't know. It's you shouldn't be. Yeah, it doesn't work for everyone. You should
right.
try and look for the answer and purpose first before looking to other people to try and find to give you that purpose.
Yeah, and also like from an economic standpoint, like people put in so much money and so much time into college. Like, I mean, if someone can come out of a program like Bitmaker Labs and have a skill that's valuable in the workforce, it's way better that they spend a couple weeks and a couple $1,000, you know, doing that. I mean, for the economy, that's cheaper if they get out into the workforce. And they get out into the workforce quicker and can be effective quicker. There's no reason to wait till you're 22, 23, 24 to go out and work if you're great when you're 20.
Right. Right. I couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more.
So, what are some of the challenges that you guys have had to overcome when you're putting together kind of a school like this?
Where do I start? Well, trying to, let's see it. One of the biggest challenges, okay, first organizing everything. But aside from pulling all of the pieces together, it was one of the bigger challenges was trying to find exactly how to tailor the curriculum. Web development is so large. You can do so many different things. So how do you boil it down and put together a curriculum that's exactly what your employers are looking for?
Right.
So as simple as it is, we just went out and asked. We asked everybody to fill out a technology survey and talk about their stack and what they were doing. Um, and we just built a curriculum around that.
Cool, cool. All right. I guess so now, so if someone's trying to learn Rails or they're trying to, learn design, HTML, CSS, if they're just trying to, learn code, if they're trying to program, what advice, are there a couple things that you'd say to someone trying to, trying to, to learn a program?
Yeah, the first thing is to go, like, once you've found the resources, to just go and build stuff. You need to be building stuff right away. This isn't something that should be read about, and like, you're not going to be able to read a bunch of books and just be able to get it. You have to try building as much as you can. But some of the resources that we use and like are Code Academy, Code School, Ruby Monk. There's a lot of resources out there, and this is probably the best time to be able to go and teach yourself. It's a lot out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, I guess a few other, just like a few kind of personal questions. So, like, what is your favorite? You know, if you had to recommend a book for someone to go after they watch this interview to go read, what would that be? Or if there are a couple, that's all right too.
Uh, I would say the book that's most changed the way I look at technology is Accelerated Disruption by Eric Lefkofsky. Um, so he's the guy that started up Lightbank. He was a major investor in Groupon, among other high-profile startups. And the book is basically, I think it's like 17 laws on disruption. What are the things that you have to do to take an industry and flip it on its head?
Right.
And he's done that, time and time again. And he knows business well. Let's put it that way.
All right. What about favorite movie?
Ooh, favorite movie. I don't really have a favorite right now. I'm watching Game of Thrones a lot these days.
Oh, everyone says that's great. Everyone says that's great. I don't. So in my new apartment, if you can't tell, there's like nothing here. Basically, like it's like that. I've got a bed and like a six foot fold out table and a chair. So I need to get a TV so I can start watching some of these things. Everyone says Game of Thrones is supposed to be great though. I guess what's the last thing I have here? I guess so. If there, I asked you this, before, but do you have any comments, that you just want to say in general? Are there any questions that you think I didn't ask that I probably should have asked?
Hmm. Um, yeah, on that, I think what this experience has made me realize is that people can take their education into their own hands, and they don't have to look to some external higher power for enrich their life. You, everyone has the ability to find what is necessary, to find what they have to do, and figure out how to go learn that. They just have to decide to apply themselves. And I'm seeing like we're just curators. As educators, we can provide the material and help you out, but learning isn't done by anyone else than yourself. So I guess what am I trying to say? To boil it down, is that it's about time we took education into our own hands and figured out what was right for us.
All right. All right. Great. Well, Will, I appreciate you doing this interview. Where can people follow you on social media? Um,
Huh. I don't use Twitter that much, but we have a blog called Bits and Bytes. So feel free to check us out there. We write a couple posts a week.
Perfect. Perfect. Once again, Will Richman with Bitmaker Labs, and I'm Sam Solomon with Signal Tower. Thanks for watching.